Ohio. We're high on Ohio. These stories inform and inspire through the words of people who make Ohio home. Good news and good ideas, identifying and acknowledging the excellence that is all around us.
You go to almost any small community in Ohio, so any community. If you want to find out where the poor people are living now, it's down by the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
It's down by where the old factories used to be.
Yeah.
Because that's where the old housing was. That's where the people used to live when they worked in the factories that were there. Today, these factories, like you say, are all built out by the interstate. They're all built out there for the convenience of the truckers.
Yeah.
And the other people who are hauling freight, they're not built for the convenience of the people who have to work there. And so, and again, those aren't even the job of most of these folks are getting offered. They're getting offered jobs down at the mall.
Yeah.
They're getting offered jobs at Lowe's, they're getting offered jobs at retail outlets, and they're getting offered part-time minimum wage jobs or very low wage jobs. They can't keep a car on the road for that. They couldn't even begin to. So, you know, we used to be able to provide car repairs for people.
Yeah.
We used to be able to do a lot more to help people buy a car through subsidized loans. We did all kinds of things. Almost all of that money's been taken away from us. The General Assembly cut, I believe it was well over $200 million out of the county budgets in the last several years that they used to use for just those very purposes and for job training and those kind of things. Those kind of supports are disappearing. At the same time, we're putting more pressure on these folks on public assistance to work, to find a job, to deal with the time frame, all those things. And what's ended up happening essentially is we're just throwing them off. The other reality about money changing hands in the state of Ohio, and this is true nationally, but in the state of Ohio in the last 10 years or more, what we've done is granted huge tax cuts to people disproportionately at the top, with the idea being, you know, this is kind of the trickle-down theory. We're going to give them more money, they're going to invest it in jobs, it's going to lift everybody up. Well, the reality is that those people are not going to invest in jobs that are labor-intensive jobs down here in Appalachia. They're not going to invest in labor-intensive jobs on the east side of Cleveland, you know, or any of the inner cities. That's not essentially what they're doing with their money to make more money is invested in offshore labor, to invest it in technology, probably more than anything else. I mean, there's lots of ways that the least likely thing they're going to do with their money is invest it in some labor-intensive activity out here that's going to actually transfer some of that wealth back to the people who are working. That's what's happened with the money. But in order to afford those things, we have been cutting back on human services funding. We've been cutting back on funding that actually did go to these folks. So, I mean, they're essentially losing income all the time at the bottom end. Like I say, we've got all these folks now have no cash income whatsoever. And the money's piling up for the people on the top with the idea being, you know, that this is somehow going to result in some kind of investment. Well, it does result in investments in the communities where these people live. They do spend that money in their communities. They do, you know, and create jobs in those communities, you know, not where the poor people live now. We know that. I mean, it's just the way things have actually worked out, not in theory, in reality. And yet there's nothing on the horizon that would lead me to indicate that anyone has looked at this and said, you know, this hasn't worked out very well. Maybe we need to reverse this. Maybe we need to do this some different way. That's not happening. I mean, as you know, that is not happening in the political realities. And of course, I think the other thing that's so frightening for me about this is that this is not a matter of being able to go to one political party and play it against the other to try to help poor people. The truth of the matter is that neither political party, you know, has any desire to court the poor people. I mean, there's no money there. The Democrats seem to think they can take their vote for granted, to be honest with you. I'm not sure they can count on that much longer. It's just not politically beneficial to anyone to take up the cause of poor people. And Democrats abandoned this years and years ago. And of course, it's never been a clarion call for the Republicans, although I think it's incredibly ironic right now, but the only person talking about poor people is the governor. He talks about them all the time. At the same time, he's thrown 100,000 of them off welfare. But at least he's talking about it. I mean, you know, it's just the reality of politics. And the reality of our economic system out there right now is working against these people. And I don't see any, you ask me what keeps me up, I don't see any force out there in the economy or in our political system that is slowing down this trend or is likely to turn it around. That keeps me up at night.